Hi there, welcome back to another Real Talk with Dr. Jim Sharps and myself, Seth Allen. It's great to have you back with us. If you're a regular viewer and watcher and visitor to this channel, you know what we're all about. We really want to talk about original medicine and natural healing from an original medicine perspective. And we want to do that in as clear and intelligible a way as possible. We don't want to swamp with jargon. We want to simplify, and in simplifying, hopefully enable you to make a more informed decision about your health and cut through the noise. So we're continuing the series on RBTI, really looking into the tests of RBTI. Do check out our previous videos if RBTI is a new term for you. If you wanted a quick refresher, it's Ream's biological theory of ionization. It's something that you'll see popping up frequently, and even more frequently as you look through this channel. So what we wanted to do today is look a little closer at one of the tests, one of the segments, I should say, of the RBTI test, the suite of tests. And we wanted to look today at it's called Albumen. But Dr. Jim, I did say we were going to be jargon busting and not use long words to confuse. Maybe you could just start us off by just sharing what is albumen in the context of RBTI.
Yes, it's referred to as albumen, but in RBTI terms, we call it cellular debris, and it's the debris from the system. It's the debris in the body that's coming out in the urine. A lot of people think that you get a lot of it out through defecation, but actually you get a lot more debris out through urine. And so it tells you how fast you're aging. The higher that is, that means you're dropping a lot of cells. That's what the albumen is, or the cellular debris, and you can actually see it. And from an RBTI standpoint, there should be 40,000 particles per liter of urine, and so that's a lot of particles. And that's only if all the other numbers are perfect. You want that number to be very high if the other numbers are outside of what we call the healing zone, or if things are far from perfect. And the reason for that is if they're far from perfect, that means you're getting a lot of breakdown, not a lot of replacement, and you want that coming out. So it's a kind of a good news, bad news. It's high. I'm not being sadistic when I get excited when I see 4 million or 4 million plus or 4 million plus, a very high amount. If I see the other numbers off, because that tells me that you're unlikely to be building up cysts and tumors and things of that nature that are staying in the body. So anything that you don't assimilate, you want to eliminate. And that's what that cellular debris is referring to, that elimination process.
And what does the albumen or the cellular debris test tell us about diet and lifestyle?
It tests how well your diet is. If what's coming in is lower than what's going out, that means you're losing energy. It's all about energy. The input side is the input energy part of the equation. The output side is the output energy. So that's energy. So if that's higher than input, then you don't even have to know the arithmetic to know that you're on the negative end of the scale. So that's all RBTI is about. It's about measuring the amount of reserve energy coming in and the amount going out. And so when that number is high, you obviously have a lot going out. And the lower the species, the higher you're going to see that number. So if you see dogs and cats and animals, they don't have very long lives. They have very, very high cellular debris. We're at the highest level of the frequency scale, in the biological frequency scale. And so ours tend to be a lot lower, and we consequently live longer. We are designed to live 120 years, but a lot of us are making it to 70 to 80, and that 70 to 80 is the telling that you're aging faster than what you were designed to, based on the diet and lifestyle. So it's a very, very powerful number. It's the only number that is kind of, sort of is subjective, because you can't read 40,000 particles, you can't read 4 million, but there are indicators in terms of looking at the urine and being able to see what you can count And if you can count 20 or more particles, each particle represents 20,000 that you can't see. So there is a way of kind of estimating what that is. And normally, as I said, not normally, but perfect is 40,000. But most of the time, until you start really getting into that healing and perfect zone, you want that to be 4 million or higher.
Okay, and that's clear. And you've mentioned numbers a lot, Dr. Jim. What do good numbers signify?
Good numbers signify that you are in balance. You're not too high or too low in any of those things. You're not too high in the carbohydrates, not too high in the salts. The digestion is not too fast, it's too slow. It's optimum. So you're minimizing energy loss. You're losing small amounts of energy just because of life on the planet. But you see, what you're showing as the input side of the equation is the most optimal for long-term health and vitality.
And on the flip side of that coin or that equation, what do bad numbers signify? And again, this just to kind of qualify and respond to something you said earlier, the numbers are in context, and we'll cover that next, but just what do bad numbers signify, and what do bad numbers look like based on what you said earlier around it depends on?
Yeah, all the numbers kind of relate to each other, as you noted. But bad numbers, what's nice about this, you see, in RBTI, you don't diagnose. You're not looking at signs and symptoms. What it tells you is that it gives you some clues as to what's going on biochemically. And one of the things that bad numbers tell you is that you either have kidney stress or you have a poor diet. And then there are hundreds of named conditions or diseases that can be associated with it. But bad numbers, to make it real simple, indicate bad things. The medical folks want to give it all kinds of fancy names so they can run to a prescription pad. But what we want to do from an RBTI standpoint is analyze it in the context of all the other numbers and say, okay, what is this saying to us about what's going on systemically? And clearly, what it may tell you is that the blood is too thick because of the debris. So it tells you you might be short in your vitamin E. So if you don't have foods with vitamin E, you probably want to have vitamin E supplementation or something to thin out the blood, something to enhance the circulation. It helps you to understand what kinds of ancillary protocols, like a contrast shower. So it tells you the things. Not only does it tell the number say that it's bad, but it gives you some clues as to what would make it better. What dietary and lifestyle and protocols would put the numbers in a better position. So that's not the normal way. People want to hear things like cancer and tuberculosis and lupus and all other kind of things. But the numbers basically tell you there's inflammation, there's there's excess of that, and you want to use those 8 laws of health to bring it back into balance. Now, does that help or does that confuse things?
That's very clear. But as always, we always want to have this to be a conversation between Dr. Jim and myself, certainly, or I hope so. And then also, obviously, with you watching these videos. So do let us know in the comments if anything is unclear. We do monitor them and we can always circle back around. So final question, Dr. Jim. We've alluded to it all the way through the kind of this conversation today, but how do the albumen numbers relate to some of the other numbers? What are some of the key relations? I know all the numbers connect with each other, but what are some of the key relationships you look at in the hundreds of RBTI numbers and tests that you've seen over your career?
Yeah, the key thing I want to look at the first number, the Brix number, but more importantly, I think I want to look at the pHs, the urine and saliva pH, because that tells you how well your digestive system is working. And so if that's not working efficiently, you're not going to be converting, you're not going to be replacing cells on the right schedule. And so you're going to have this buildup of debris in the body. So that's the key thing you want to look at to see what you need to do to get that digestive system better, and that pH kind of tells you that. Of course, the first number is telling you the quantity of foods and especially carbohydrates, sugars in the system. And if that's too high, that's also going to affect the cellular debris, because that means that you got all of this buildup, all of this congestion, and you want to lower that congestion so that you can convert the food into cells as much as practical. Of course, you're going to have a certain amount of debris, but those are the two key things you want to be looking at. And we didn't talk about the ureas yet, but that's particularly key. And there's a very, very strong relationship between the cellular debris and the ureas, which we can probably talk about when we expand on further. So if you remember asking me that question, I'll show you the association with that. There's a very strong linkage there, and a very key one, especially when it comes to body cardiovascular health.
Dr. Jim, fantastic as always. Thank you for shedding a little more light on this aspect or element of the RBTI test. I know that as we record this video that there is an ongoing RBTI workshop, 10-week program. Perhaps we can just close off by just you sharing a little more information about how people can discover more about RBTI at their own pace.
Yes, well, they can go to the website. We're going to be displaying a lot more information on it, which is www.iiom.org. And you can also email us at info@iiomonline.com. As you said, we're actually doing a class now, and interestingly enough, this week's topic is ureas and cellular debris and ureas. So we have our PowerPoint presentation. We're in the third week of our 10-week program, our 10-week accreditation and certification program. So yes, but if you want any information, of course we teach. We have a couple of courses on it in our program, and we're in the process of introducing the only accredited online RBTI course I know of in the world.
Dr. Jim, thank you so much. It's a pleasure as always. And to you who are watching this video, if you do have questions, please let us know in the comments. If you want to be notified in the next video of this series goes out, please do subscribe, and make sure you've hit the bell notification so you know when the next video is released. Until then, next time, we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now. God bless.